Alright there guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're going to be doing our third part of my top 25 favourite video games of all time. The first video we did numbers 25 to 21, the second part 20 to 16, and this episode we'll be covering numbers 15 to 11. And hey look, we're back at the scene of where my most controversial video, arguably, of the whole year was recorded. However, I think my Vinland Saga was disappointing video was actually more controversial than the one I uploaded just under a week ago now. But anyway, without further ado, let's get straight into the third part of the list. Coming in at the number 15 spot is the first game I finished on my channel in 2020. Assassin's Creed Revelations. Now, AC Revelations is my favourite Assassin's Creed game, and I have said that. I did say that multiple times during my Let's Play of the game. Now, AC Revelations doesn't actually innovate that much, but that's because it doesn't need to. You know, it's the end of Ezio's journey, searching for the 5 Marseillais keys in order to unlock the secrets of Altair's library, who of course is the assassin you play as in Assassin's Creed 1. But what Assassin's Creed Revelations does well is its story is still really good. You know, you've just arrived in Turkey. After spending the past 2 games exclusively in Italy, you've now changed countries to Turkey. And you have people ready to help you from the get-go. You have Romanis, which are basically the courtesans of the game. You've got thieves and mercenaries, just like you did in the previous games. But nobody is really... there are no familiar faces from AC2 or AC Brotherhood returning. Machiavelli doesn't return. La Volpe doesn't return. Leonardo doesn't return. Everybody you've met in the past 2 games, you don't see again. And Desmond is currently stuck on Animus Island due to being knocked unconscious and knocked into a coma due to the power of the Apple of Eden at the end of Brotherhood. But Assassin's Creed Revelations, it innovates with the most simple weapon in the game, the Hidden Blade. It changes the Hidden Blade to instead of 2 blades, 1 regular blade and 1 hook blade. The hook blade is so useful. It gives new counter-attack animations, which Brotherhood didn't have any new ones that weren't in AC2. It replaced the Climb Leap glove, but it was actually way better than the Climb Leap glove could ever be. You can climb up buildings so much faster than you ever could before. It acts like the Climb Leap glove though, as in you can jump higher distances, but you can do it even faster than you could before. We have Janissaries, which are a new type of enemy that take 3 counters to kill. But one thing Revelations has that the other 2 games in the Ezio trilogy don't have is guards that will attack each other. There are certain types of guards that are actually oppose each other, and if they see each other, they'll start fighting, and you can just slip away. But one of the best features of Assassin's Creed Revelations is Altair. You guys if you guys have played Assassin's Creed 1, you'll know that Altair is a terrible character to play as in the game. He can't kill anybody in 1 counterattack with his sword. It always has to be 2. He can't ledge assassinate. He can't air assassinate. He can't assassinate from a bale of hay. He can't. He doesn't have 2 hidden blades. He only has 1. He doesn't have a hidden gun. He doesn't have a climb leap glove. There's so many things that AC2 innovated on AC1. But in Revelations, Altair is actually quite a good character to play as. I mean, he doesn't have the hook blade, of course, because it hadn't been invented yet. But he had double hidden blades. He had a sword. He had these things he didn't have in the first game. He now does have. But what I do like, the thing about Altair is what Ubisoft did was they got the story of Assassin's Creed 1 and they built on it in a completely different game. They built on a story from their very first game that ties it all together. Because the first memory you play as Altair happens just before the start of Assassin's Creed 1. Then you've got his second memory just after Assassin's Creed 1 had finished, when you kill Al-Mualim. As Altair burns his body to make sure the apple can't bring him back. And then the third, fourth and fifth memories are very far into the future after the end of Assassin's Creed 1, and shows you the rest of Altair's life and how he lived, how the entire Order betrayed him, and how he kept on going. He fought back and reclaimed honour to the Order, to finish off Abbas, who was the real traitor to the Order, by making them all betray Altair. It just rounds out from Assassin's Creed 1 all the way up to Revelations. It just rounds out the first 4 games of the series very nicely, how all 4 of them are connected. And that's why it comes in at number 15. Coming in at the number 14 spot is my favourite 3D platformer Mario game. Galaxy? Nope, already said that one. 64? Nope, already said that one. Galaxy 2? Nope, that's not even on the list. Odyssey? No, because I've never played it, because I don't have a Switch. Nope, coming in at the number 14 spot is Super Mario Sunshine, the only 3D Mario game released for the GameCube. Mario Sunshine is one of those games where you either love it or hate it. There's no in between. I fall onto the love category for this game. It's so good. Super Mario Sunshine is one of the most unique Mario games of all time. You don't have a long jump like you did in Mario 64. You don't have a spin attack like you do in Mario Galaxy. But you have FLUDD. And you use water as your main weapon in the game. The story of Mario Sunshine is Mario, Princess Peach and Toadsworth go on a vacation to Isle Delfino, only for Bowser Jr., disguised as Shadow Mario, to create just put goop everywhere throughout Isle Delfino and all the various places, worlds in Isle Delfino. Because he looks like, apart from being completely blue, he looks identical to Mario. Less than 5 minutes after Mario has landed on Isle Delfino and actually cleaned up some of the goop, the police arrest him. Mario had been there for 4 minutes and 37 seconds and he got arrested by the police, even though he actually helped them. Sounds a bit stupid, but basically Mario has to go through all 8 worlds of Isle Delfino and collect the 120 Shine Sprites that have been taken from the Shine Gate by Bowser. And typically Princess Peach gets kidnapped, this time by Bowser Jr. still in his Mario disguise. But not only that, Bowser Jr.'s reveal was in Mario Sunshine. Like, Bowser Jr. is such a common character in Mario games now. 2D and 3D. Bowser Jr. is so common to be seen. But this was where his debut was. Super Mario Sunshine is where we first ever saw him back in 2002. The gameplay of Mario Sunshine is great. You know, you've got the usual normal jump, double jump, and triple jump. You have 4 different nozzles for FLUDD. The spray nozzle, which is which is your main weapon. The hover nozzle, allowing you to hover over an areas for small spaces at a time. The rocket nozzle that gives you a massive rocket propelled jump. And the turbo nozzle allows you to go at supersonic speed and even run on water. You can basically become Luigi from Mario 64 DS. But all the worlds are so different, but also cool. Like, Bianco Hills and Rico Harbor look nothing alike, but they both fit so well into this game. Pina Park, and it's literally an amusement park turned into a Mario level where you have to collect 8 shines. All worlds will have at least 2 red coin missions where you have to collect, and they're not like the Mario 64 missions where you can just go around picking them up. You have a timer. Well, some missions you do, so the secret missions you do, which for the secret missions, you get your FLUDD taken away from you, so you have to platform it like it's a normal Mario level. You don't get any hover nozzle boost this time. Then you go back in and get the 8 red coins before the time runs out. Good luck. You get one of those signs. You have 240 blue coins in the game, which are not like the blue coins in Mario 64 that count as 5. All these blue coins count as 1, and they don't go to your normal coin counter. They have their own coin counter. Basically, you have to collect all 240 blue coins, give them to the 2 bears inside the house that you jump inside the house. That's where you enter Rico Harbor, and he will give you 24 shine sprites, which, if you're playing through the game normally, will put you up to 119 shine sprites. As there's only 96 actual shine sprites, the other 24 that make up the 120 are from the blue coins. And then the final boss, they put you through the mill for the final level of the game. The final level opens up after you defeat the Shadow Mario boss battle, which is every 7th mission of every world. Once you've defeated Shadow Mario in all 8 worlds, he floods Delfino Plaza and opens up the final area of the game, Corona Mountain. You have to dodge spikes, you have to put out fire, these fire geysers in order to be able to stand. You have a mud boat that if it touches anything, if it comes into contact with anything, it breaks. Then you have to use the rocket nozzle against Bowser and Bowser Jr., and they shoot goop, they shoot bullet bills at you. They shoot everything your way, and you have to ground pound the sides of their goop bath that they're in order to defeat them. It's an incredibly unique Mario game, one of the most unique ever. Right up there with Mario Odyssey as being one of the most unique Mario games of all time. It's such a classic, and it's so sad that Mario Sunshine never got a sequel or even a remaster. Like, it wasn't you could play it on the Wii anyway, because the Wii, if you had these like 4GB cartridges for the GameCube, you could stick them into the back of your Nintendo Wii, and then you could play GameCube games and save their data on the on your Nintendo Wii console, so you could play through GameCube games on your Wii, so you wouldn't need the actual GameCube console itself. And that's why Super Mario Sunshine comes in at number 14. Coming in at the number 13 spot is Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. You guys probably knew it was going to be Xenoverse 2, not 1, because 1 isn't on the list. Xenoverse 2 is my favourite Dragon Ball game of all time. It's my favourite anime game of all time. And it narrowly misses out on the top 10 by just 3 spots. After the success of Xenoverse 1, I was incredibly hyped for Xenoverse 2 and didn't think it was going to be released as soon as it was. 1 year and 8 months after Xenoverse 1 was released, Xenoverse 2 was released. And Xenoverse 2 made so many fixes to Xenoverse 1's issues. Not only that, but it really did improve on pretty much everything. Let's talk about the issues that Xenoverse 1 had that Xenoverse 2 made sure to get rid of. In Xenoverse 1, you're very likely to come across enemies that spam regular ki blasts at you, and if one hits you, at least 2 to 3 more are going to hit you. And you could be in the middle of doing a beam or blast attack. You get hit by one, it's over. You're not using that attack. Xenoverse 2 got rid of that, got rid of regular ki blast spam because it was so frustrating to deal with. The next thing they did was stop Super Saiyan from being so overpowered. Well, it still is overpowered in the game now. I mean, for God's sake, Super Saiyan 3 is actually stronger than the Golden form, even though within the show, the Golden form would 100% be stronger than Super Saiyan 3. But the issue with Xenoverse 1 is, when you turn Super Saiyan, and you have until you run out of ki, you have infinite ki. And if you have maximum charge equipped, you can continuously charge back up to full, and then keep spamming your ultimates infinitely. Which was a huge problem, and Saiyans were the only race in the entire game that had a transformation. That made them even more OP. No, it was OP enough that they had a transformation in the first place, but they have infinite ki. It's overpowered. In Xenoverse 2, all races were given a transformation. Saiyans, Super Saiyan 1, 2, 3, and then Blue. Namekians become giant. The Majin Buu race, they turn into Kid Buu. Humans get the Nimbus Cloud and the Power Pole. And the Frieza race gets the Golden form. So they gave all races transformations, and they didn't give infinite ki. You couldn't have infinite ki when you transform when you transform. You still have to power up. And then when you run out of ki, you don't deform in your transformation. You only deform if you get stamina broken, which was another massive feature for the game. Stamina breaking. Because Xenoverse 1, you basically couldn't do an attack. If you tried to do an ultimate attack, someone could just go behind you and stamina break you, so you couldn't dodge or do anything. In Xenoverse 2, it's still very hard to pull off an ultimate, but they added the stamina break attack, where the person's stamina recovers quicker than normal, but they instantly lose all of it. Whereas if they run out of stamina by themselves, their stamina recovers very slowly. But if you have the stamina break attack, their stamina recovers quicker, but they lose all of it instantly, giving you a chance to do your ultimate. My only issue with that is it's kind of the only way you can do an ultimate. In Xenoverse 2, you have to break the stamina. Now, the story mode is very similar to the first game. Some cutscene... Jesus, that made me jump. Even the cutscenes, some of them were just ripped straight from the first game and put into the second game. But there was new elements added, such as the Majin Vegeta. He was added into the story mode. That whole thing. The DLC story missions from Xenoverse 1, the Dragon Ball Super missions, such as Goku vs. Beerus and Goku and Vegeta vs. Frieza from the two most recent movies before they were turned into arcs in Super, were just standard missions. They weren't DLC. And of course, we still had some what-if scenarios. Like in the first game, you had what if Raditz dodged Piccolo's special beam cannon and it only killed Goku, and then Raditz killed Piccolo? Like, what if Raditz survived his fight with Goku and Piccolo? But Xenoverse 2 had different what-ifs. It had one of the what-ifs was, what if Cooler was revived along with Frieza in Resurrection F? That was the most notable one. Some annoying missions from the first game were taken out, such as the mission where you play as Captain Ginyu, because he body changed with your character. And you have to defeat 20 Frieza soldiers, but you also have to keep Krillin and Gohan alive. Neither of them can die, and when they're flying wherever they want, it's kind of annoying to find them. But yeah, you can... Of course, the customization options were enhanced even more in this game than they were in the first, where you can make your characters look like however you please. Of course, I make my characters look quite simple, because simplicity with the first form is all I need. But yeah, improvement in the gameplay, more characters, more parallel quests, more and better story missions. Xenoverse 2 was a massive improvement on Xenoverse 1, and so many people say it's not. So many people say it's only a slight improvement on the first game. You clearly did not see the issues that the first game had, now looking at the second game. And that's why it comes in at number 13. Okay, coming in at the number 12 spot is Kirby's Epic Yarn. That's right, the only Kirby game I have ever played is on this list. Kirby's Epic Yarn is one of the most unique Kirby games of all time because there are 0 copy abilities you can get in this game. I feel like that was a pretty big turn-off for a lot of Kirby fans to begin with, the fact that you can't inhale enemies and copy their abilities, like Kirby can in the majority of his games. The story of Kirby's Epic Yarn is Kirby sees a maximum tomato, which is the highest healing, the biggest in terms of healing. It's the biggest healing item in the game. It instantly puts you back at full health. But Kirby is tricked by the main villain of the game, Yin Yarn, who sucks Kirby into his magic sock. No, I'm not joking. That's exactly what happens. And Kirby lands in a strange place he's never been to before. But he's made of yarn, meaning anytime he tries to inhale, the air will just go straight. Anything he tries to inhale will just go straight through him, and he can't copy the ability. And he meets Prince Fluff, who is the prince of Patchland and the world that they live in to begin with. Now there are There are quite a lot of different and unique lands in this game. Instead of them being called worlds, they're called lands. We have grassland, hotland, treat land, one of the most unique. And even though it's a staple of Kirby, it's still unique because only Kirby has treat land. We've got Spaceland, Iceland, Waterland, and of course even Dreamland. Right at the end of the game, the final world of the game is actually Dreamland. Kirby returns at the end. But the story is, Yin Yang has separated all 8 of these worlds because all 8 of these worlds were connected together. So Kirby's job is to go through all 8 worlds, beat every mission, finish every mission in them, defeat the boss of that world, and that creates 3 strands of yarn that pull 2 lands back together. Kirby has to go through every single land in the game and finish every mission and then beat the boss. Now, there are still quite a lot of familiar Kirby enemies that return. The Scarfies return. The Cappies are in the game. The Waddle Dees are in the game. The Waddle Doos are in the game. Even King Dedede and Meta Knight are boss battles in Ice and... It's either Ice or Snowland. It's one of those two. I can't remember the name. I'm just going to call it Iceland. Iceland, you actually have to fight King Dedede, and in Spaceland, you have to fight Meta Knight as the boss battle. So, very iconic Kirby characters there for the boss battles. Every single boss in the game is unique. Meta Knight and King Dedede included. You all have to defeat them different ways, whether it's ground pound them and then use your Yarn Whip, which is your main weapon in the game, to throw at your enemies. You collect beads, which give you silver, bronze, or gold ranks. Instead of having copy abilities, Kirby does have power-ups, but these power-ups are only attainable at certain points of certain missions, certain levels in each world. We have Car Kirby, Dolphin Kirby, Penguin Kirby, like Fire Engine Kirby. Not only do we have no copy abilities, but the power-ups that are in the game are all unique to that game. There aren't any power-ups in Kirby's Epic Yarn that are seen in any other Kirby game. Now, a lot of people say this game isn't very good because A, you can't die in it, which is true, you can't die, but that doesn't make it worse. And also, it's too easy. The majority of Kirby games are easy, so I don't see why Kirby's Epic Yarn is being called out for that, when most Kirby games are actually pretty easy. Kirby's Epic Yarn is no different in terms of easiness, but it's just a fun game. Like, it's just an incredibly enjoyable experience the whole way through. It's an incredibly light-hearted game, if you just want to have fun. If you just want to go through a game and have fun, this is definitely one to do it. And that's why it comes in at number 12. Okay, final entry of this video. Coming in at the number 11 spot is Life is Strange. Life is Strange is an amazing game, and I have Let's Played it on my channel all the way back in 2017. This game follows Max Caulfield as she is studying photography at Blackwell Academy until one day she's in class. She goes through her day normally. She goes into the women's bathroom, and somebody else comes in, and then a guy comes in as well, freaking out over something, and then a girl comes in behind him, and she gets shot. But as soon as she gets shot, Max wakes up and she's back in her classroom. But that's not the crazy thing that happens. The crazy thing is, everything that she witnessed in the classroom, everything that was said by the teacher, Mr. Jefferson, and everything that happened in the classroom, whether it was somebody's phone going off, somebody having paper thrown at them, it all happens again. It's basically deja vu. It's happening all over again. But then, so Max goes back into the women's bathroom again. The same guy and same girl come into the bathroom again. But instead, this time Max intervenes, knocks the fire alarm as he was just about to shoot her, and she runs off. Max learns that somehow she has time rewind powers, where she can rewind time to a certain amount at will. And for a choice-based episodic game, people say that's a bad thing, because if you make a choice and you don't like the outcome, you can just rewind time and choose something else. I understand that. I get that that's not a very... doesn't sound like a good feature, because you're kind of cheating. But for me, I think it actually puts on more pressure. I think it actually puts more pressure on the player, because if you pick something and you're like, ooh, I'm not sure about that, then you so you rewind time and pick something else, and then you feel that the second option was the correct thing to pick. But then later on in the game, that turns out to be a bad thing, and you should have actually chosen the first thing you did, but you rewound time and changed your answer, and it ended up making it worse. That's something that's really good about Life is Strange. And the girl in the bathroom happened to be Max's childhood best friend, Chloe, whose dad had unfortunately died in a car crash that day. Well, no, not that day, quite a while ago. Like a good 5 years ago. And doesn't really like her stepfather, David, who is also in Life is Strange 2, but for a very short amount of time. And the second game's not even that good. The first game was where it was at. But throughout the game, Max has these nosebleeds that then knock her out, her unconscious, and then she goes back to this place in Arcadia Bay where she lives, where there's at the top of next to a lighthouse, where there's a giant tornado around Arcadia Bay. And basically, this tornado all was created because Max intervened when Chloe was about to be killed. If Chloe was killed, the tornado would not happen. But because she survived, that tornado was created. And funnily enough, the very first thing Max takes a picture of in the game with her camera is a butterfly. It's the butterfly effect. Because Max prevented somebody from death, the entire town is going to suffer through a tornado. And every single day of most days of the series, with the 5 episodes, they all take place over the course of a week, because the Friday of that week was when the tornado was going to hit. Chloe and Max also do some digging to figure out who's been bullying this girl called Kate Marsh, who can either jump off the roof of this school and kill herself, or you can stop her. The first time I ever did it, she jumped off. The second time, which was the Let's Play, I managed to stop her. So you guys got to see what it's like if you stop her from killing herself. But Max's time rewind sometimes goes so out of control that she basically goes so far back in time that she has her 18-year-old mind, but in her 13-year-old body. And due to having all the knowledge up to the age of 18, despite being back in her 13-year-old body, she knows that Chloe's dad, William, if he drives his car, that day he's going to get killed. So she prevents him from doing so. So William survives, doesn't go out in his car, and takes the bus instead, and doesn't get killed. Instead, Chloe ends up in a car crash instead, and she becomes paralyzed because of it. So then Max has to go back in time. After she goes back into the present with Chloe being paralyzed, she has to go back to her 13-year-old body again and allow William to die, just like he did in the present timeline, for Chloe to be okay and not be paralyzed. But there's so much mystery around this game, as Chloe should have died. Literally, the entire world was trying to get Chloe killed in any way possible throughout the whole game. Whether it's she shoots the bumper of a car and the bullet comes back and hits her, in order to prevent this tornado, because she should have been killed at the very start of the game, but you prevented it. Until you realise that Chloe's... What we find out in Before the Storm, Chloe's girlfriend, Rachel, had been killed while Chloe was still at Blackwell Academy, but she didn't know who was responsible. And there were 3 people that could have been responsible. Nathan Prescott, the rich asshole kid who was the one that would have killed Chloe, David, Chloe's stepfather, who she hates, or Mr. Jefferson, the photography teacher. Turns out, in a huge plot twist, Mr. Jefferson was actually the one that killed Rachel and took her to this place called the Dark Room, and then where he drugged her, took photos of her, and then killed her and buried her in a junkyard. He even knocks Max unconscious and kills Chloe on that day. Because secretly, he knew the entire time that Chloe should have died already, but she hadn't. So you spend the entirety of the final episode trying to stop Mr. Jefferson, and once you've stopped him, Max has to... At the very end of the game, Max has to make a choice. Sacrifice Chloe and save Arcadia Bay, or sacrifice Arcadia Bay and save Chloe. Whatever you pick in the first game does impact the second game, but only at the end of the game, near the end of the game, when you see David, which is the first time you see a character from the first game. In the second game, it took that long, right at the end. So yeah, the choices are made, put a lot more pressure on you. The time rewind is a very innovative mechanic for episodic choice games, and the telekinesis power for the second game just didn't feel the same. It just didn't feel like it was really a big part of the game. It was only used when it needed to be. Time rewind was used throughout the entire game. And that's why Life is Strange comes in at number 11. If you guys have enjoyed this episode, and we've only got 2 more to come, then please be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, follow me on all my social medias, and until next time guys, catch you later.